So when my book, Toward a Meaningful Life, was first published in 1995, the previous century, previous millennium, the book publisher, William Morrow, sent me on a book tour. I didn't know what a book tour was at the time. I learned quickly. It was initially 20 cities. It ended up being 90 cities. And at the time, you traveled to these different cities. It was all scheduled by the publicist at the publisher. A scheduled talk in the evening at a local Barnes & Noble or independent bookstore. Borders existed as well. There was a big chain, Borders. But through the day, you did interviews. There was print interviews and radio interviews and television interviews, and that led to the event in the evening was a book signing. I would speak, and then afterwards people would come over and I would sign the book. This was in a city in St. Louis, Missouri, and the event was attended by thousands of people, not because of me, just for the record. There was a memorial evening then for Prime Minister Rabin from Israel, who was assassinated. So many people came out, but I was the scheduled speaker before that was scheduled, so therefore I was the speaker. And maybe it was all meant, not God forbid anything negative. The evening was meant for me to meet this person that the story is with. Okay, a line of people after I spoke lined up, I signed books, people spoke with me, shared their email address, different interactions. Come back to New York, and I receive an email. Was it an email or a letter? I don't remember now. From a woman. She writes the following. The words are etched in my memory, so I can repeat it almost verbatim. She writes, I was in the audience during your talk in St. Louis. I got online to see you, but then the line was too long and I chickened out. I got cold feet. So I decided instead to write to you. I am a 47-year-old executive that lives and works in St. Louis, well respected, I have a very powerful position, influential position. My equity is nice, my contacts. I'm considered a success story by all standards. However, beneath the veneer of success lies a woman in shreds. You see, my soul was murdered when I was a young child by the abuse I endured at the hands of my parents and others. And she spells out emotional, psychological, sexual abuse. It destroyed my self-esteem, my sense of self. It was soul murder. But not once, continuous. I loathed myself. And it affected everything in my life. Especially relationships. As I got older, tried to have relationships. I had no trust, not in myself, not in others. Always testing people. Until I destroyed any relationship. So intimacy, relationships were all just simply dysfunctional, if at all. I've tried many types of therapy, she continues. Nothing's really worked. I struggle literally every day, sometimes with suicidal thoughts as well. So what do? I wake up every morning, breathe in, breathe out, and try my best. What does a person like me do? People who have lack of inner control create outer control. So I became super ambitious, super driven, super aggressive, succeed on many levels, somewhat to numb and relieve that existential vacuum within myself. So it doesn't really help, but it works in some temporary fashion. And I've long given up hope. Someone recently gave me a copy of your book, Toward a Meaningful Life. I'm Jewish, but I don't do anything Jewish because my parents, anything they do, I've turned the opposite direction. I think she said they were traditional or they holidays. I'm not sure. But I reject it all. But I was reading that. I was looking at your book, just browsing through it skeptically, and a line jumped out at me. In the chapter on birth, the beginning of the chapter, you have a quote, she writes, birth is God saying you matter. And I read it again. Birth is God saying you matter. Suddenly I felt this like a silver bullet between my eyes, touched a deep chord inside me. Birth is God saying you matter. And I read it again and again. And I will continue reading this line the rest of my entire life. Suddenly at 47 years old, I came to discover the true secret of value. That your value is not based on what other people tell you. That my value is not based on what my parents told me I was worthless in so many different ways. That our value is not based on the fact that for many companies or many people, we're just a statistic on someone's balance sheet. That your value is not based on your looks, on your youth, on your buying power, on your equity, on your productivity. Your value is based on one and only one thing. That you were born. That God gave you life. A vote of confidence that says that no matter what others say, you matter to me. Birth is God saying you matter. So even if there's a day where I didn't produce that much, or I didn't get a compliment, or I wasn't told that I wasn't validated, that value cannot be taken away from me because no one gave it to me. My parents didn't give it to me, so they can't take it from me. And then she concludes, she says, so though I have many years to heal, but now I have my work cut out for me. And this would be eloquent if it weren't under the circumstances, I'm saying. My work is to create bypass surgery, to bypass the infected and toxic arteries that were so polluted by the abuse I endured, and reconnect to that pure moment at birth, where God said, you are my child, you matter, you are indispensable, I love you unconditionally. And then she concludes, thank you for giving me back my life. I remember when I read that letter, I was crying, I was sobbing. Firstly, a woman sharing such a sacred confidence with someone she doesn't know. Second of all, just the life experience, the pain of that. I actually went back to read the book, to read that chapter. Because even though I wrote it, you always want to see it from the perspective, the eyes of the reader. Actually, a book, once you write it, it belongs to the reader, not to you any longer. And I read it through her eyes. And it was, in a way, mind-blowing, more than I ever expected. I wrote back to her, of course, offering my support, my friendship, any way I could help, asking her permission to tell the story, which she gave me without using her name, she said. She didn't want people calling her who have similar stories or want to give her sympathy or comfort. But the story remained with me. We stay in touch. It's years. It remained with me because it left me haunted by that question. Do you think you matter? And I began asking audiences, and I ask you. I've probably asked this question to hundreds of thousands of people, maybe more. Do you think you matter? And I can tell you the reaction. Audiences either giggle, some people a little uncomfortable, or it's like a silly question. Of course I matter. I have plaques on the wall. I have degrees. I have this accomplishment, that accomplishment. I have a family that loves me. We have many reasons why we feel we matter. But let me rephrase the question. If you were never born, would it make a difference to anyone? It's a different type of question. Once we're here, it's called circumstantially we matter. So either we make sure to feel valuable, or we do have loved ones. There are people that validate us and people who consider us invaluable to them and their lives. You see that, God forbid, when someone dies. You see the loss and people are affected by that person. But that's circumstantial. That's after the fact. That's after you were born. But if you were never born, there'd be no tragedy because no one's expecting you. So is there anything on a cosmic level that changes if you're here or you're not here? Again, not after the fact. As a matter of fact, after the fact, as I just mentioned, many of us do whatever we can to feel valued. We'll talk about that in a moment. That's what started percolating inside of me. And I started asking people that question. And many people answer, on that level? I don't know if I matter on a cosmic level. Would it make a difference? 8 billion people on the planet? One more grain of sand on a big beach? Would it make that much of a difference? So some people say, no, I don't think I make that difference. Some say, I'm not sure. What I learned from this woman is something. I always felt I mattered because my parents loved me. I'm the oldest of 5 siblings. So I never asked that question. But is that the reason I matter? And what happens if, God forbid, one day my parents would tell me you're not that valuable, or they reject me? Then my stocks go down, my value goes down. But this woman didn't have that luxury. So sometimes the eclipse of the sun teaches you something you don't learn from the sun itself. She didn't have that luxury. So she came to the real truth through pain, through loss, through a lack. She came to the real truth that your value is not based on others, even parents. They can validate it, they can confirm it, they can nurture it. Just like water, that a gardener waters the garden, nurtures the flowers, but it doesn't create the flower. It nurtures and it creates an environment, a fertile ground for the flower to emerge. She came to the truth that birth is God saying you matter. That the true value comes from your very essence. The mere fact that you exist means that the vote of confidence on the most cosmic level, yes, on a cosmic level, that you matter absolutely, you're indispensable, and has nothing to do with what other people say. Yes, if they validate it, that's great. And it doesn't mean it's an excuse for us not to do anything, but it means your value is not a product of and a result of your actions. On the contrary, because you value yourself on such an essential level, you will do much to actualize and to justify and to say and demonstrate your inner value. That's what I discovered. And that became a driving ethos, a driving force of myself, of the Meaningful Life Center. Meaning in life. That you truly matter and what you do matters. And it's not optional. Someone tells you, hey, we need you to wake up tomorrow 6 o'clock in the morning. We need a volunteer to come with us to visit some sick people in the hospital. You'll say, do you really need me 6 a.m.? And you'll say, okay, you know what, if you can't make it, if it's optional and arbitrary, you're probably not going to do it. But if someone says to you, hey, we must have you, we need you, you're absolutely necessary, everything changes. Because you feel that sense of urgency, that compelling sense of urgency. So I developed a theory as well, and I've written this to her as well, the woman in St. Louis. I've written and told her, I think that the driving force of ambition for so many people in life, and when they try to find value and worth, whether it's material things or in other excursions or other escapes, or even positive experiences, is because there's a subconscious fear in all of us that maybe we really don't matter after all. So we have to make sure that we do. And we do everything possible to show that our value. Some things could be very beautiful things we do. Can motivate us to build great things. Could also be destructive things we do. Because we're trying to mask or compensate for a lack of inner self-esteem. Some of the most insecure people become very aggressive, and they seem to be secure, but it's just masking and covering up a very deep insecurity, deep low self-esteem, as we know. But ultimately, the only way you're going to really find self-worth is when you discover your soul. And it comes down to a practical exercise that I would like to suggest, and I've suggested in the past. Every morning, make that declaration. Just like a business can't function without a mission statement, what's your mission statement? That you have a soul that gives you that absolute indispensable value. Birth is God saying you matter. So when you wake up in the morning, there's that one line prayer, chant, meditation, Moda'ani. Thank you for returning my soul to me. Just that. I mean, there's a fuller statement, but it's short. You could find it in prayer books. But the main thing is the focus, the intention. Thank you for returning my soul to me. What are you saying? First of all, it's a statement of gratitude and humility. You're not self-made. Secondly, it's a statement that you are put here for a reason. You're on a mission. Thank you for renewing my contract. Thank you for making me indispensable. Thank you for giving me a mission that I, and only I, can accomplish. Yes, that's what it means. That you matter, not on a circumstantial level, not on a productivity level. That's all an outgrowth of value. You matter because you are sent here to accomplish something that only you can accomplish. The unique song, the unique light that you emanate, that you give off. And then it also triggers, once you acknowledge that in the morning, that through the day you're going to look for ways. How can I express my soul? I meet someone, make it a more soulful experience, more personal, kinder, gentler. And it can be done both cognitively, emotionally, behaviorally. It's a mindset, but it's also based on your feelings and actions of living a life from inside out. Your inner value of your soul drives what you do. Now, this takes work, but a good beginning is to start with that one line meditation every morning. Birth is God saying you matter. That's how you find your real self-worth. And you have it right now. All the advertisements that try to sell you things, none of them are going to say birth is God saying you matter, because then there's no product to sell. They have to sell you something, a product, a service, a look, a journey. Here, this is something you have. It's your own birthright. You're not going to buy it on a shelf. It's not something you can purchase. It was given to you. Now you have to discover it. Now again, if our parents and our environments validated, supported that, reinforced that, of course it would be easier. But that doesn't mean that you can't find it, because it's right there. And then look for people that validate that. You know, many of us have on our contact list, I'm sure, individuals that always know how to throw cold water and skepticism on anything hopeful in your life. You have come up with a good idea. It's not going to work. I've been there. You're naive. Find people that validate you, that say, oh, wow, great. Embark on that journey. Try something new. I believe in you. Believe in yourself. This, my friends, is how we build the self-worth that we already have within us. So we're not discovering it, we're uncovering it. Thank you so much. This has been Simon Jacobson, Meaningful Life Center, meaningfullife.com. Love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, your suggestions, your ideas. And please share this. And please subscribe to our growing YouTube channel. Be blessed and be well. And remember, you are indispensable and we all need each other. The cosmic symphony is not complete without each of us doing our part. So it's a great honor to jam and cross-pollinate and interact and interconnect with you. Thank you so much. Be well.
This program is brought to you by the Meaningful Life Center. Please help us continue our programs. Make even a small contribution at meaningfullife.com/donate.